75 years ago this week, the valiant rescue of Allied troops at Dunkirk was the talk of the country. The massed armada of small boats was one of the enduring images of the war.
But that wasn't the whole story. While the rescue operation was going on, British troops were fighting a desperate rearguard action to slow the German advance. A few miles inland, in a village called Paradis, a terrible massacre took place 75 years ago today. Many of the victims were from Norfolk. Mike Liggins has tonight's special report.
75 years is a long time in anyone's life, but Bob Brown can still recall the events of May 1940 quite clearly. As the German army drove the British Expeditionary Force back towards the French coast, the Royal Norfolk Regiment were told to hold a farmhouse at Le Paradis, some 50 miles south of Dunkirk. Bob Brown, a signaller, took a call from a friend in an outlying unit.
He said, "We had some good times together, Bob." And I said, "Yes, we have." I said, "We'd have some in the future." He said, "No," he said, this will be the finish," he said. "We're being overrun," he said, and in places actually hand-to-hand fighting. So he said, "I don't think I shall see you again."
In the farmhouse, the Norfolks were surrounded, but they fought on. This is a sketch Bob Brown did some years later. As men fell wounded and dying around him, Bob says he wasn't frightened.
I'm not being brave or anything, but no, I didn't feel frightened. We were so involved in what we were doing, and we were laughing and joking amongst ourselves, and never gave it a thought for what was going to happen.
Bob Brown's story is told in a book by the historian Hugh Sebag Montefiore. He says the Norfolks have never really been given the credit they deserve.
The Norfolks held up the German advance, and without their contribution and all the others around them, Dunkirk would never have taken place. And World War, if you follow it down the line, if Dunkirk hadn't worked, World War II might have ended differently.
At the farmhouse in Le Paradis, the Norfolks eventually ran out of ammunition and surrendered to the SS. But 97 men were taken just a short distance away and machine-gunned down.
But there are also some German witnesses who've described, for example, how they saw an older man kind of on his elbow, or one elbow, touching his chest and pointing to it as if he was asking the soldiers who were coming up to finish everyone off to dispatch him, and he was just shot and he crumpled in a heap amongst all the other soldiers.
Bob Brown survived the massacre because, with two other men, he didn't surrender and tried instead to make his escape.
Pure luck, luckiest day of my life. Yeah. I always said I had an angel watching me and looking after me.
And that's why I call them the forgotten heroes of Dunkirk, because every anniversary you have the kind of little boats going across. It's such a romantic story, but in fact this story shouldn't be forgotten.
Bob was captured by the Germans and saw out the war in various prison camps across Europe. Today he lives in sheltered housing in Norwich, and now nearly 95 is very sparky indeed. One of the forgotten heroes of the Dunkirk story. Mike Liggins, BBC Look East, Norfolk.
It's incredible, isn't it? You look at him and you just have no idea.
Well, he went through.
It's incredible.